The Kingdom of Saudi Arabia will allow pilgrims residing inside the country to undertake the Umrah pilgrimage beginning on October 4th after a 7-month pause due to coronavirus concerns. The Umrah pilgrimage to Mecca and Medina attracted 19 million people last year. Saudi Arabia instituted a freeze on Umrah in March. News reports said authorities will now allow 6,000 citizens and residents inside the kingdom to perform Umrah daily, representing 30% of revised capacity of 20,000 that takes into account precautionary health measures. That will expand to 75% of capacity on October 18th. A technical error caused an explosion at a Hezbollah arms depot that rocked the South Lebanon village of Ain Qinna Tuesday, causing 4 casualties according to security sources and witnesses. A Hezbollah spokesperson said on Wednesday the blast occurred at the Center for a Demining Association linked to the group, where unexploded munitions from an earlier Israeli war were being stored. The spokesperson also blamed the explosion on technical error but denied any casualties. The Lebanese army said it was investigating the explosion. The government's lead negotiator Abdullah said Wednesday a number of Taliban prisoners who were released by the Afghan government as a condition for peace talks have taken up arms again. Abdullah, the chairman of Afghanistan's High Council for National Reconciliation, said discussions with the Taliban in Qatar so far have been positive. However, he said some, though not the majority, of the 5,000 Taliban prisoners released by the government as a condition for talks had resumed the fight against Kabul. Malaysia's opposition leader Anwar Ibrahim says he has secured a strong majority from lawmakers to form a new government and is seeking an audience with the king to formalize his appointment as prime minister. Anwar, who will lead the king's ascent to replace current premier Muhyiddin Yassin, told a news conference on Wednesday his support from lawmakers means Muhyiddin has fallen as PM. Premier Muhyiddin came to power in March after securing a parliamentary majority with the support of the United Malaysian National Organization, which was defeated in the 2018 election. A former rebel military commander has been elected president of Bougainville, the autonomous region in the South Pacific, electoral officials said on Wednesday, and he is set to lead talks for the territory's independence from Papua New Guinea. The victory by the former rebel leader Ismail Turoma is a break from the current administration led by President John Momis after the government's candidate was eliminated in the region's preferential voting system. According to the Electoral Commissioner, the general election was the first since Bougainville voted overwhelmingly for separation from Papua New Guinea last year, with Mr. Turoma defeating an open field. A European Union Leaders Summit due to start Thursday has been postponed after a security guard tested positive for coronavirus, forcing EU Chief Charles Michel to quarantine. The EU spokesman said that EU Chief Michel, the President of the European Council, decided to reschedule the meeting for October the 1st. The extraordinary summit had been called to discuss foreign affairs and was said to be dominated by the crisis in Belarus and in the Eastern Mediterranean, where Turkey and Greece are in a standoff over gas drilling. Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau will lay out on Wednesday a new post-pandemic direction for Canada that will test his minority government support in Parliament in the coming weeks. Premier Trudeau had hinted his so-called throne speech would herald Grand New Deal-style reforms with a focus on implementing climate measures and addressing social inequalities laid bare by the COVID-19 outbreak. But those plans have been tempered by an uptick in new coronavirus cases as millions of Canadians have returned to work and school this month, with the focus of the speech instead set to remain on emergency measures to limit the contagion spread. Wisconsin Governor Tony Evers on Wednesday declared a new public health emergency and extended a face mask mandate into November to fight a COVID-19 flare-up in his state, as the number of people who have died across the United States since the pandemic began passed 200,000. The Johns Hopkins University, which has been collecting U.S. and global coronavirus data since the beginning of the outbreak, reported the new death toll of 200,768 and 6,895,685 confirmed cases as of the end of Tuesday. In-person social gatherings have led to cases in Wisconsin skyrocketing among people aged 18 to 24, Governor Evers said as he pleaded with students who returned to colleges for the fall semester to wear masks. Australia's coronavirus hotspot of Victoria is considering easing more curbs from September 26th than previously flagged, the state's premier said on Wednesday, as the two-week average of new infections in the city of Melbourne fell below 30. Melbourne, Australia's second most populous city, has been the epicenter of the country's second wave of COVID-19. The city has been under a hard lockdown, including a nightly curfew, since August the 2nd. The state reported 15 new cases and 5 deaths on Wednesday. India's coronavirus infections surged again on Wednesday, a day after falling to their lowest figure in almost a month. Federal health data showed in the last 24 hours there were 83,347 new cases with 1,085 deaths. India, with a population of about 1.4 billion, is consistently reporting the world's highest daily tally of infections as it grapples with overstretched health services in the effort to control the pandemic. Its 5.6 million infections ranks second only to the United States, and more than 90,000 people have died. The death toll in the Gilani building collapse in Bhiwandi rose to 39 after 13 more bodies were recovered from the debris on Wednesday morning. The total casualties in the tragic incident include 15 minor kids. The owner of the building, Sayyid Ahmed Gilani, has been booked for culpable homicide and negligence causing hurt and is still absconding. The incident took place in the early hours of Monday, and teams from the National Disaster Response Force, Fire Brigade, and police reached the spot quickly. A typhoon accompanied by torrential rains and dangerous winds is slowly heading towards Japan's main island, Honshu. Weather authorities warned of flooding, mudslides, and swollen rivers in eastern and northeastern Japan as Typhoon Dolphin was projected to close in on Tokyo and surrounding areas on Thursday. According to the Japan Meteorological Agency, the eye of the storm was about 230 kilometers southwest of Hachiko Island, south of Tokyo on Wednesday, traveling northeast at 20 km per hour with maximum sustained winds of 110 km per hour and gusts of 160 km per hour. Chinese President Xi Jinping vowed Wednesday that the world's largest greenhouse gas polluter will peak emissions in 2030 and go carbon neutral by 2060 in what environmentalists hailed as a major step forward. The goals were the most concrete yet announced by China, with accounts for 1/4 of the planet's greenhouse gas emissions blamed for fast rising temperatures. In an address to the UN General Assembly, President Xi renewed his support for the Paris Climate Accord and called for a green focus as the world recovers from the COVID-19 crisis. Executive said on Wednesday Dutch Lufthansa AG plans to start making rapid COVID-19 antigen tests available to passengers in October and is weighing the options of opening test centers at airports in the United States and Canada. The move comes as airlines and airports globally have urged countries to accept passengers' negative COVID-19 tests as an alternative to travel restrictions and quarantines that have battered demand for travel. While the aviation industry has largely backed the use of polymerase chain reaction tests, which take several hours to process in a lab, airline trade group IATA touted antigen tests that can be processed on site and typically give results within about 15 minutes.